Hi everybody, welcome to École Burkina. Like I told you last time, today we are going to practice on our lesson which is entitled The Simple Past of Regular Verbs, bis plus ed. We are going to deal with two exercises, and the first one is practice activity 1, instruction, provides the simple past of the following regular verbs between parentheses. Okay. To remind you, the underlined words are with the simple past tense. Number 1. My mother called me on the phone yesterday. My mother called me on the phone yesterday, and I talk to her. Number 2, he worked on the car 2 hours ago. He changed the oil. He worked on the car 2 hours ago. He changed the oil. Number 3, they play football last week. And They walk back home. Correction. In this practice, what should you do? As a matter of fact, you are given some words between parentheses. Now, you should turn these verbs between parentheses by giving their form in the simple past. These verbs are regular. We just want you to give their preterite or the simple past form. This is what you have to do in this practice. So in the correction, number 1, my mother called. Me on the phone yesterday and I talked to her. I talked. To her. Number 2, he worked on their car 2 hours ago. He worked on the car 2 hours ago and he changed the oil. Here, the end of the verb is E, so you just add D, and you have ED at the end of the verb, okay? Just add D. Number 3, they played football last week. They played football last week. And they walked back home. And they walked back home. Okay, so let's read again. Practice number 1. My mother called me on the phone yesterday and I talked to her. Number 2, he worked on their car 2 hours ago. He changed the oil. Number 3, they played football last week and they walked back home. Good. Now, let's go to practice number 2. Activity number 2. Instruction. Provide the negative. Form of the sentences in activity 1. So in activity number 1, you were given some sentences. Now, in activity number 2, you are going to turn the previous sentences into negative. This is what you have to do. Okay, so let's go. Number 1 is, my mother called me on the phone yesterday and I talked to her. The negative is, my mother did not call me yesterday and I did not talk to her. My mother did not call me on the phone yesterday and I did not to her. Sentence number 2 is, he worked on their car 2 hours ago. He changed the oil. The negative is, he did not work on their car 2 hours ago and he did not change the oil. He did not work on the car 2 hours ago. He did not change the oil. Number 3, the sentence is, they played football last week and they walked back home. The negative form is, they did not play football last week and they did not walk back home. They did not play football last week and they walk back home. Good. So this is the end of the correction of activity number 2. And it also marks the end of our practices today. But before closing, we are going to read activity number 2. Instruction provides the negative form of the sentences in activity number 1. Number 1, my mother did not call me on the phone yesterday and I did not talk to her. Number 2, he did not work on their car 2 hours ago. He did not change the oil. Number 3, they did not play football last week and they did not walk back home. So thank you for attending. I'll see you next time for another lesson. Goodbye.